Good afternoon. It's 3:30 Eastern Standard Time, and I'm going to do a kind of look back on what happened today. There's still plenty of day left, but um, some interesting developments here according to the stories we're looking at possibly happening here. So we did open in range and below value. It opened when still making the video. First thing is we were looking to possibly have a move down towards the single prints in A yesterday, or maybe even closing the gap. And right off the open, it ticked down and it started moving up. However, if it was going to, we're looking at taking back overnight short inventory, and that did just a little bit. I said I wasn't going to trade right off the open, so that would have been the longs in A period. There was some movement there, but this one, personally, I liked better. And I'm going to show it might have been tricky to get on board where I had suggested possibly selling. By the way, back over here, the strategy to get long, you want to hold above the overnight VPOC. Okay, so let me pull this out for a second, and you can see an A period here. This is the overnight volume point of control right here. It's on a blue pivot point or something, so it's kind of might be a little difficult to see. It's a purple line right there, and when A period came above it, it held, and on a smaller time frame, somebody might have been able to take some longs through here. It wasn't the greatest. What didn't happen, though, this is really important. We didn't take out these swing highs in the overnight. We have sort of a double distribution in the volume in the overnight, and we never got above it. And we actually, when we opened in B, we had a long tail, like if you think of a candlestick, a long shadow right here. And then B opened right on the overnight volume point of control. So what didn't happen? It didn't continue up. Even in B period, it went to basically, at the time, what was half back of A period. And anyway, so it didn't ultimately hold above the overnight volume point of control. And that brings us into 3A and 3B. So we were looking for shorts against the overnight VPOC or against the overnight low. These are not in sequence. I should have had one before the other. Or against the prior low of day, if we were looking to take out the prior low of day. Okay. Negative to mixed market internals, which they did become, and easy travel to the prior low of day, developing value lower. Well, we opened so much lower, value was developing lower. So this worked. But it wasn't, it was short-lived, and that early in the morning, you got to be fast. You got to know, when. You got to know when to hold them, and know when to fold them, and know when to sit on your hands. All right. So this one played out, took back some overnight inventory, rejection of the single prints yesterday in A period. It wasn't the trade of the day, but then we had the next one to come into play was 3A 3B. So a short against the overnight volume point of control would have worked, but it would have been tricky. This is what I mean by that. So this is a tick chart. It's kind of like basically a minute chart, and our overnight VPOC is right here. So this is B period right here. We open right on the VPOC, and would you have just gone short right there? You probably would have wanted to move down and move back up to it. And so this might have been really difficult to get on board with, to the short side. However, as we moved down, we got down to the prior low of day and came back in and came back out. But the other idea was to get short against that. So there was an opportunity here. There's other opportunities. These are just ones that are jumping out at me as far as a way to trade it. Just a moment, this chart popped off. Make sure it doesn't do that again. Right here. Depends on how much risk you want to take too. So that's like 48. The swing high here is about 53.5. That's kind of a lot for me. I wouldn't like that. But if somebody would have even shorted earlier on right here, that would have worked a bit. It would have taken a little while. But anyhow. So what happened next was we traded down, and I'm going to show you this on the profile chart. And again, this is where patience really plays, because obviously you just saw another place where this would have been more of a perfect entry to the short side. You know, it didn't take much heat if you traded against the low of day. So this would involve other things that you're looking at: indicators, market internals, tempo, just experience, patience, all these things as to when do you get short, and this could have been a reload too. And again, I'm just talking through ways to do this, but let's move this out of the way for a second. Let's just look at it in on the profile. Make it bigger here. Now I had talked about this low. Now remember, initially we couldn't really take much. We got swift rejection from taking out any of these A prints, and it was right against basically this opening range. Now my opening range is, I use 3 minutes, okay, and this is a pivot point here, and it didn't take out the overnight low. So what didn't happen? You know, it went up. So at that point, one would be looking to get long. I'm back into story number one. I'm just kind of revisiting it because I'm looking at the profile chart. Looking at trying to get long, holding above the overnight VPOC, and that was at 66.25, and A period went up to 77. So you know, there's like there's several points in here for bites, right? All right, so let's look at our move back down. So we're back into story number 3A. Sorry I jumped around there. I just wanted to point that out. Look for shorts against the overnight VPOC, the overnight low, the prior low of day. I didn't even check out the overnight low shorts against that. That was an opportunity, possibly. But anyhow, so we came down here, C period, came back up. So that, I'm not sure if, no, that wasn't it. So let me go back here. You may not be able to see this on your screen. This is a very fine line that marks the new TPO. So C period did come back up, but it may have come back up a lot later. The period, yeah, there we go. So it came up, and that was an opportunity to short it again, because I think it went down quite a bit again, because D period opened way down low. Okay, so there were some opportunities for shorts against the prior low of day. Here's one. Here's one. Now, if you're just sitting there like on that or one tick on it, that's going to be hard to do. So, would this have been realistic to take? Well, I think so. If you're trying to get short on a whether the TPO clears it or not. This is where maybe staggering some entries would work. You have one here more aggressive, one here, and then having a tighter stop against one of these swing highs. You know, it's always a little bit more difficult when it's this is a third or fourth time coming in here. All right, I don't want to get hung up on this since I'm starting to make this a long video, and I don't mean to, because there's a couple other things. So I talked about this being a distribution up here. We did take out the A period, and then we had these anomalies, and we got down here literally to the bottom of this distribution, and it was rejected. And then we came back up, and we're back in. So I said that I made a 3B. Alternatively, watch for back in and redirection. And I even specifically talked about this. Oftentimes, we're going to have the market go in one direction, good part of the morning, first, half hour to 2 hours. And here we go. A, B, C, and then D. This is an hour and a half into it. We start to turn the other direction. Okay? And this would have been a real nice trade. You could have got long against the prior low of day, not taking much heat at all, a couple of times. And could have been long till now even. But as you can see, this came back up. And now what we're looking for, the next idea, we're going to swing back over into number 2. So 3A worked out. 3B worked out. Developing value, overlapping to higher, move into value area, look for 80% rule to buy. All right, so the mixed market internals, I don't remember what it was looking like. But then, this is something you just have to get a feel for. It's not a absolute qualifier. It's just a guidance thing. It helps. And mainly it really helps with, if you're trading against references and little areas and things like that, and the tempo's kind of slow, and the market internals are sort of neutral, you got a good shot of catching some swings on things without having these extreme moves. But if you've got massively strong negative or massively strong positive, you really want to be going in that direction or be really fast, be right in or right out, you know. So anyhow, another problem here is that, you know, I suggested that you want develop a value overlapping to higher and move into value area. So let's take a look at that, because we started so far down here. I mean, even right now, its value is really overlapping to lower. I don't know that we're going to get it to move up yet today. No, we're probably not. But the point is like, if you got up here and said, oh, well, value is not overlapping to lower, I'm not going to take this. You need to, well, it just comes with experience, I guess. That's very helpful, but this is a very narrow range for a value area anyway. So that's 3,875, and that's 3,784.50. So, you know, we're looking at about 15 points. And notice how when we came into the value area, then we opened an H. Wait, I got to make this bigger. I'm sorry. It's probably very tiny and difficult to see the screen. It's either too small or way too big. Okay. So we come into the value area, and I'm going to pull this in on the tick chart in a second. Come into the value area, and then ideally what you want to see is it stay in the value area when it opens a new TPO and not pop out. Well, it completely popped out on both of them. Okay, we even came back out again and opened outside of it and came back in. Now, if you look at the tick chart, though, you got to realize that things are concepts. They're not just like that. Maybe have been somebody's discretionary or arbitrary rule. That's what has to happen. But if you're looking at the dynamics, so let's get into it here. All right, I don't want to go too far. There we go. So notice how we come into this is in H period. We come into the value area low, and we come back down, and it holds. This would be what was resistance is now support. See right here? It was resistance. Now it's support. Buy it, right? Is it the 80% rule as the way it's was introduced, or no, not exactly. But now we're back into a balance, and we're looking to get to the other side of balance. It's really just that simple. So, one moment. I need to. I don't like being right on the edge of the screen. Oh, I see why. There's a problem. Never mind. Okay, I'll have to take care of it later. So, anyway, we clearly went to, now notice this, in H period. H period came in, I showed you on that tick chart, or, you know, it's really very close to a minute chart, so just think of a minute chart. It went all the way to the other side, almost to the tick, the value area high. There you go. And it came off pretty strong. We opened an I period and came up against the volume point of control. And now we have, because we came out of the value area, we came down, we have the 80% rule to the downside. I mentioned possibly sell the value area high in the video for the pre-market. So at this point, this is where value being lower really worked for us. Now let me push this off here. I'm going to split it. Let's take a look at where the volume point of control was when we were up on the highs. It's all the way down here. Whoops. Yeah, that's right. It's all the way down here at 37.69. We opened up in H period, came down. If you didn't get short just taking a shot against it for whatever reason, you could have had a piece of it there. But let's say you waited and wait and be specific, then going to get as short as close to the value area high as possible. You want to think shorts because in this time frame, you've got value lower and you've got this prominent point of control lower, right? And it came all the way down to the value area low. So this fulfilled the 80% rule to the letter, and the what's the word I'm looking for? Not, I guess theoretical would be the word. The concept of it, the theory of it, reapplied, extrapolated, or reduced to a different time frame would have worked fantastic for this H period. Could have taken that up. So, and then there's also, you've got the overnight value area high right here. I didn't have it marked on this chart. Let me merge these back together. So our storybook, this worked twice for the 80% rule. I guess I could have said, I said sell in the video to possibly sell. And there you go. So that happened. What did not happen was story number 4. All right. Now remember, and I didn't really put a story in other than I've been talking about it last week for several videos that we might get, short covering rally is still possible, and there's still room for short covering rally ahead. I talked about this being a weak high yesterday. And not only being a weak high, because there was another high days back. Let me show you. If you watch the video, you remember I put a little ray on it right here. So here was yesterday, and then you had this high. So we didn't quite take that out. So yesterday's high, I'm calling it a weak high. And then I flipped over to the market profile chart, and I said another thing is you've got this naked volume point of control up here. Well, let's see what happened. Here's the tick chart again. Let's go all the way to the right. And I'm going to have to put that on here. I'll just make it purple so we know what we're talking about, the same thing. And all right, here it is. It's right here. When we popped out of the high day, got hung up in here, and this is a like a minute chart. Let's say it. I don't know. Let's see what time it was. This was at 3 o'clock. It's 5 minutes, 7 minutes, almost 15 minutes. It hung around that volume point of control, but it went to it, right? Then we got some more moves, and now we've come back off of it. There's a little choppy area. I don't like it for anything. But anyway, that's something I wanted to point out. This is what I was trying to do earlier. I want to pull this away from the edge a little bit. I didn't really write that in other than saying that, I don't like the high. It's a weak high, and that at some point we're going to come back through it. Well, we did today. A lot sooner than I thought. Today's a neutral day. Traded on both sides of the initial balance. That represents uncertainty and possible change coming. But I'm not sure if it's just the continuation of the change we've had recently of moving to the upside, or we're going to get a move back down. At any rate, there you go. This was today's trading and stories, and they pretty well all worked out very well. I like the fact that I said I put a 3B in here for our alternative, and I made a commentary about we might go in one direction for a bit, but look out, if we come back in, very often we're going to get a move in the opposite direction, which is exactly what we happened. So watch for it. So watch for the back end and redirection. And it's exactly what happened. All right. Have a great evening. Hopefully, Lord willing, we'll be back here tomorrow. I do have some other things going on. I've got something happening on Friday that I got to spend some time getting ready for. So, yeah, I'll probably be here. All right. Thanks.